Number 1. So, this story happened around mid-2014 when I was 17 years old, living in Perth, Australia. I was in my final year of high school, and I often spent a couple days of the week studying at the local university library near my house because I didn't get a lot of work done at home. So anyways, where I lived and at the uni was considered a pretty safe area, and nothing significant had happened in the area for about 15 years, so I felt quite comfortable walking around at night. One night, after some study at around 7 to 8 p.m., I decided to walk to the service station across the road from the uni to get something to eat. As I was casually walking past the petrol Bowsers, a tall African man in his hailstone-damaged car calls out to me as he was moving his car in neutral gear as his car seemed to be broken down. I help him move his car into one of the customer bays and help him sort his car. He tried turning on his ignition and it wasn't working, didn't even start the engine at all. Then somehow, after a few moments, his car magically started again and he got into the car. He started asking me weird questions like,
"Do you like books? You speak good English, where do you learn it?"
Even though I have an Australian accent, and then he said,
"You need Jesus Christ."
All out of context and random. I don't remember the whole conversation precisely word for word, but he mentioned something about going to the local recreational center down the road to play a team sport. But the thing was, this particular recreational center down the road closes at 5 p.m. on a Saturday and is closed on Sunday. This was on a weekend, which was really odd that he said he was going there at 8 to 9 p.m. to play a sport. What made this even more creepy was the location of the recreational center being so isolated amongst a small national park, a large field, a sleepy soccer, and a farm located on university property, so it's kinda in the middle of nowhere. So pretty much going there at that time would be creepy and suspicious. I vaguely remember a pause of silence, and out of nowhere he said,
"Get in the car!"
At that point, I froze and just walked off into the service station and just hung around there for about 20 minutes before I ran back to the library in total fear, and the walk to the library is a good 400 to 500 meters through the bushes, car park, past tennis courts, courtyard, etc. Because I remember telling him I was studying at the library, I was worried he would park his car and hide amongst the bushes and ambush me as I was walking back to the library. I pretty much ceased studying at the library for the night and just relaxed and went home. This was probably one of the most creepiest experiences of my life so far. Thanks for listening. Number 2. Another tale from our friend from Queensland, Australia. So it was late at night, about 10:30, and I'm letting my dog out one last time for the night to go to the toilet before we go to bed. Just some background to the setup, as it's important. My back door joins to the corner of the house. The backyard, which is enclosed by a 6-foot-high fence and a padlock gate, runs parallel to the side of the house and meets the front, which is open to the road. Just near my back door, on the side of the house, is the fan box for the split system. So just as I step out my back door, the dog is already out and the back lights only shine as far as the fan box. The rest of the yard is pitch black. My dog pierces the air with an attack-sounding growling bark. All of her hackles are up, and she is growling and barking, ready to bite. I have never seen her so tense. So I step forward to the side of the house and peek into the yard, having trouble seeing what has got my dog so nasty. Then I hear, as clear as day, someone go, "Shh!" Obviously not knowing I'm there and trying to get my dog to be quiet. This works my dog up even more, and even I am afraid of her. I look towards where the sound came from and my eyes focus on a person crouched down, trying to hide behind the fan box. By this point, the dog has placed herself between me and the croucher and is still barking and growling, nudging me towards the door. My blood runs cold when I spot him, and somehow my brain kicks into gear and something tells me to pretend I haven't seen him, because for some reason my subconscious feels that if the croucher finds out he's been spotted, I'm in serious trouble. I step quietly into my house with the dog still between me and the croucher, and my dog steps in behind me. Luckily, the keys for the door were in my pocket. The dog steps into the house after me, never losing her focus on the corner of the house, and I lock the door. But this doesn't calm my dog, and still huffing and growling, she continues to nudge me further into the house until I am into the hallway, where I can see both my kids in their bedrooms, asleep, but also still see the back door. Then as I grab my phone and call the police, my dog does a perimeter of the house and also jumps onto my kids' beds, checking on them, still huffing and whining and growling, still with her hackles up, and comes back to me and continues standing between me and the back door, not budging, even after the police arrive, which they did in less than 5 minutes, I would say. They arrive with the dog squad and scour my yard, the neighbors, and the street. The dog squad officer comes in to speak with me and says whoever it was is long gone, but his dog stumbled across this. Does it belong to me? He holds up a knife, one of those filleting ones that had to be about 7 inches long. I freeze and must have gone as white as a ghost, because the officer then says, "You're very lucky. You have such a protective dog. It could have been a lot worse. But I am confident the person is long gone, but we will patrol regularly." I didn't hear anything further about the incident, but I'm so very grateful to my dog, as I believe she definitely saved my life that night, and she firmly cemented herself a place in this family. Number 3. I wanted to tell you something that happened to me when I was 17 years old. I am now 26. I moved out of home when I was 16 due to having a bad relationship with my mother. I was moved into a youth hostel in an area of Nottingham in the UK. I was pretty out of control as a teenager. I would get drunk all the time, abuse drugs, etc. While living in this area, I obviously sparked up friendships with the people around me. Most of them were the same as me, or maybe worse. I got very friendly with this older man called Peter. He was 32 at the time, and he was the person me and all my friends would buy our drugs off of. It became a friendship, I suppose. Sometimes we'd sit at his room and get high or drunk, and we all thought he was pretty cool. We had heard some rumors about him and that he was a pimp, but we found it rather funny, and being young and stupid, we thought we were invincible and that Peter was a good guy. This went on for about 6 months until it turned rather ugly. Me and my friend were there having a drink, listening to music, and just being silly young girls, really. Unknown to us, Peter had slipped something into both of our drinks. I do not remember a lot after this happened. I don't remember leaving his house, but I remember suddenly being aware that I was sitting in a car in Birmingham, quite a long distance away from Nottingham. Me and my friend were in the back seat. A guy was next to her, and Peter was in the front driving. I remember a gun being passed around, not in a threatening manner, like I even remember holding the gun in my hand, looking down at it, and laughing. The next thing I can remember after the car gun incident is it is daytime, and I have been dropped off outside one of my other friends' houses by Peter, and I remember really seriously not knowing who I was or where I am, and it was like ultimate amnesia, and I remember feeling particularly alarmed by this feeling, so much that I started to panic. This wasn't a little panic. This was full-blown, hysterical, running around, screaming panic. My friend's mom came rushing out to see what was happening. She took me inside and phoned an ambulance. I remember this part, but I remember being not able to even string a sentence together. I was taken to the hospital and I was drug tested. They found ketamine in my blood, but that was all. The nurse said to me that she thought from my description it sounded like I had been given some type of date rape drug, and some of them take up to 12 hours to leave your system. I was given medication to calm me, and I had to stay in the hospital for the night. I was interviewed the next day by the police. They already had a statement from my friend who was in the car with me. I had completely forgotten about her. What a terrible friend I am. But she could also barely remember a lot either. But she does remember that he took us to Birmingham to pimp us both out. To this day, I don't know if I had sex with men when I was in Birmingham, and I will probably never know. I had to have an STD check, and I had to wait and take a pregnancy test, also HIV, which was obviously very nerve-wracking at 17 years old. Peter was arrested, and we did eventually go to court. I am not sure how much I am allowed to say about the court case, but Peter was found not guilty. There was basically no evidence, and according to his lawyer, me and my friend basically made this whole thing up because we didn't want to get into trouble or kicked out of our homes for taking drugs, which is completely false, I might add. Me and my friend were abused, threatened by his sisters on a near daily basis and accused of being liars. I had to have years of therapy after this incident. After around 4 years, I was able to put this behind me and get on with my life. My friend is also doing well now. Peter eventually did get some karma. He was arrested about 18 months after this happened for selling Class A drugs. He is now in prison. Creepy Mina here of the Worst Nightmare channel. I hope you enjoyed those 3 stories of women from Australia and the UK. Hey, I've got something I'd like you to take a look at. I've got 2 links below from H3 Productions and Phillip DeFranco. YouTube has started a new program, if you haven't heard about it, called the Hero Program, which could seriously affect this channel and others in a negative way. So take a look at it so you're aware. I'm not saying what should be done at this point, but just get yourself familiar with the situation if you could. And of course, as always, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, share this video on your favorite social networking platform, follow me on Twitter as WorstNightmare6, and comment below. I've got a new outro. Let me know how you like it. And always remember to stay safe.